The girl on the curb. It was nearly dark when Jamal stepped off the 17B bus, his shoulders hunched under the weight of his backpack and the cold evening wind. The corner of 47th and Pine was always a place his mum told him to avoid. Too many broken streetlights, too many strangers who stared too long. But Jamal didn't like taking the longer way home. He was 13, tired from school and hungry. He just wanted to get home before his mom started worrying. That's when he saw her. She was sitting on the curb in front of Patel's grocery, barefoot, her legs pulled up to her chest, arms wrapped tight around herself like she was trying to stay invisible. Her hoodie, dark red and 2 sizes too big, was stained with dirt, her blonde hair matted, her face pale and scraped. But it was her eyes that made Jamal stop. They were wide and glassy, not crying, not blinking, just watching. Jamal hesitated. He looked around. A couple walked past, without glancing at her. A man leaned against the wall, smoking, not paying attention. No one seemed to notice the girl. Jamal stepped closer. "Hey," he said gently. "You okay?" The girl didn't move. Her eyes locked on him, and for a second Jamal thought she might scream. But she didn't. He took another step. "You lost?" She blinked. Once, then gave the tiniest nod. Her lips were dry and cracked. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "They left me." Jamal's stomach twisted. He glanced around again. "Who left you?" She didn't answer. "You got a phone?" She shook her head. "Where do you live?" "I don't know," she said. Her voice was shaking now. Jamal knelt down beside her. "Do you want me to call the police?" That's when she looked straight at him. Her eyes went wide, and she shook her head violently. "No police," she said louder this time. "Please, no police." Okay, Jamal said, raising his hands. "No police, I won't." She was maybe 10 years old, maybe younger. Jamal couldn't just leave her there. He stood up. "Come on, you want something to eat?" The girl hesitated. Then slowly she stood, legs wobbly like she hadn't walked in a while. They didn't speak as they walked. Jamal led her down 3 blocks, through back streets, past a barking dog behind a fence, and finally to the old duplex where he lived with his mom. His heart pounded. He wasn't sure how she would react. He wasn't even sure how his mom would react. He knocked, then opened the door. His mother, Leanne, was washing dishes. She turned around, wiping her hands on a towel. "Jamal, you're late." Her words stopped when she saw the girl, the stranger standing next to her son, pale, dirty, silent. Leanne blinked once, then walked over, knelt in front of the girl, and asked softly, "Are you hungry?" The girl nodded. That was all it took. Leanne didn't ask questions. She didn't scold Jamal. She just led the girl into the kitchen, made her a peanut butter sandwich, poured a glass of water, and wrapped her in a blanket. Jamal sat across the table and watched as the girl ate, like she hadn't seen food in days. She didn't speak, didn't look at either of them, just focused on chewing, eyes wide, hands trembling. That night, she slept on their couch. Leanne brought her a pillow and one of Jamal's old blankets. She curled up tight, still wearing the hoodie. Even in her sleep, her face looked afraid. Jamal lay awake in his room, staring at the ceiling. Something wasn't right. The girl's voice echoed in his head. "They left me. No police." What had she seen? The next morning, Jamal tiptoed into the living room. She was awake, sitting on the couch with her legs crossed, staring out. The window! He sat on the floor near her. "I'm Jamal," he said. She didn't respond. He waited, then asked, "What's your name?" The girl turned her head slowly. Her voice was hoarse. "My name's Emily." A pause. Then she added, "But that's not what they called me." Jamal's eyebrows lifted. "What do you mean?" But she didn't answer. She turned back to the window. Over the next 2 days, Emily barely spoke. She stayed close to the window, sometimes drawing with the crayons Jamal gave her, sometimes just sitting still. Leanne offered her food and clothes. Jamal offered quiet company. There was no news on TV about a missing girl, no posters, no alerts. It was like Emily didn't exist. Then, on the 3rd day, it happened. 3 hard knocks on the door. Jamal was in the kitchen. Emily was on the floor coloring. Leanne opened the door, drying her hands. A tall man in a grey jacket stood. There, he held a black leather folder and had a badge clipped to his belt. "Child Protective Services," he said. "We're here for the girl." Emily froze. Her crayon snapped in her hand. Jamal rushed into the living room, stepping in front of her. "She doesn't want to go," he said. The man ignored him. "We got a tip. Said a young girl was brought here, blonde, about 10 years old." Leanne stood tall. "She's been through something. You can't just take her." "I'm not here to argue, ma'am. We have legal authority. She'll be taken to a temporary care facility while we locate her family." Emily's lips trembled. "No," she whispered. "Please." The man's eyes softened slightly. "It's okay, sweetheart. You're safe now." Emily stood, walked forward slowly, didn't look at anyone, just walked. As she passed Jamal, her fingers brushed his. Just a touch. He wanted to say something, to stop her, but he didn't know how. She climbed into the unmarked van, the agent closing the door behind her. As the van rolled down the street, Jamal and his mom watched from the porch. Emily turned, just as the van reached the corner. She looked straight at Jamal and silently mouthed the words. 4 words. He couldn't hear them, but he could read her lips. "They're not the real ones. They're not the real ones." The van disappeared around the corner, and with it, so did Emily. Jamal stood on the porch, long after the engine sounds faded. His hands were clenched, his heart pounding. Those 4 words kept echoing in his mind. "They're not the real ones." What did she mean? The man had a badge. He knew her name. He looked official, but something about him felt off. His eyes never met hers. He didn't even ask how she was. He just came to take her, like she was property. Jamal's mom came beside him, placing a warm hand on his shoulder. "You did what you could," she said softly. Jamal nodded, but inside, something was unsettled. That wasn't enough. He had helped her once. Now she was gone. Again. And maybe this time, not to safety, maybe to something worse. That night, Jamal sat at the kitchen table with his mom, eating spaghetti. But he wasn't hungry. His fork scraped his plate as his thoughts raced. "Can we check if she's okay?" he finally asked. Leanne looked up. "You mean the girl?" He nodded. "Emily," she sighed. "I don't know where they took her, baby. Once CPS steps in, it's out of our hands." Jamal pushed his plate away. "But what if they weren't really from CPS?" His mom's brow furrowed. "What are you talking about?" "She said something weird when they drove off, like they weren't the real ones." Leanne gave him a tired look. "She's scared, Jamal. Probably been through a lot. She might be confused. Or maybe she knows exactly what she's saying." Leanne didn't respond. Jamal stood up. "Can I use your laptop?" In his room, Jamal opened the browser and typed Child Protective Services Plus, Chicago Plus, report a visit. He found the official site. He looked for contact numbers, forms, any way to check if someone had really been sent to pick up a girl. He didn't have much to go on. No last name, no case number, but he filled out a message box anyway. "My name is Jamal Hayes. I live at 212A Pine. A man came to our home and took a girl named Emily. He said he was from CPS. Can you confirm if that visit was real?" She didn't. "Want to go?" He hit send. That was all he could do. The next day after school, Jamal rushed home and checked the laptop. Nothing. No email, no call. He refreshed the inbox again. Still nothing. He tried not to lose hope. Maybe it was just the weekend. Maybe it took time, but something deep in his gut told him this wasn't normal. That night he couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face pressed to the back window, whispering those 4 words. 2 more days passed. Then the phone rang. Leanne picked it up. Jamal was halfway through his cereal. "Hello," she said. Her voice stiffened. "Yes, he's here." She looked at Jamal and handed him the phone. He took it, nerves buzzing. "Hello," a woman's voice answered. Calm, professional. "Jamal, this is Ms. Kennedy from Child Protective Services. You sent a message about a girl named Emily?" "Yes," he said quickly. "Did someone from your office take her?" There was a pause. "That's what I'm calling about," she said. "We did not have a pickup scheduled from your address. There is no case open for a girl by that name, and no agent was dispatched last week to 2212A Pine." Jamal's cereal spoon slipped from his hand. "What?" he whispered. "Can you describe?" "The man," she asked. He tried, tall, white, black jacket, leather folder. He had a badge, but Jamal couldn't remember the details. "We'll open an internal investigation," Ms. Kennedy said. "This is very serious. If what you're saying is true, that child may be in danger." "She is," Jamal said, standing up. "I saw it in her eyes." "Do you remember anything else?" she said. "Anything that might help?" Jamal thought hard. Then he remembered something. She said, "That's not what they called me." Ms. Kennedy was quiet for a moment. "That could mean she was being held under a different name." "Thank you, Jamal. I'm alerting authorities immediately." She gave him a direct number and told him to call if he remembered anything else. Jamal hung up. He turned to his mum. She was pale. "Oh my God," she whispered. "They took her." Over the next few days, CPS and the police followed up. Officers came to the house. Jamal repeated everything he knew, every word Emily had spoken, every detail about the van. The man, even the broken shoelace on her foot. He told them about the crayon drawing she left behind, but no leads came up. No girl matching her description had been reported missing. No fingerprint records. Nothing. She was invisible. But Jamal didn't forget. 1 week later he had a dream. In it, Emily was running barefoot down a hallway, doors slamming behind her. She screamed Jamal's name over and over, but her voice was silent. He woke up sweating. He couldn't shake the image. He had to do something. That weekend, Jamal went back to Patel's grocery, where he'd first seen her. He asked the cashier if she remembered a girl sitting outside last week. The woman shook her head. "I mind my own business." He walked around the block, checking alleyways, looking for anything, any clue. Near the back dumpster, he saw a torn piece of fabric red like Emily's hoodie. He picked it up. It smelled like motor oil and something else. He walked toward the alley's end, and that's when he noticed the camera. A small security camera mounted high on a telephone pole, facing the back parking lot. He wrote down the building number, ran home and begged his mum to come with him. They knocked on the door. A man answered, older, grumpy, skeptical. "I live on the other side of that alley," Jamal's mum explained. "There's a security camera. Could we see the footage from last Thursday?" The man shook his head. "Why?" Jamal stepped forward. "A girl was taken. We think she was kidnapped." That made the man pause. He scratched his chin. "I don't have the equipment to look, but my son does. Come in." An hour later, they watched the grainy footage on a desktop monitor. The timestamp showed 6:08 p.m. There she was, Emily, sitting on the curb, drawing on the sidewalk. Then the van pulled up, no markings. The man stepped out. He didn't knock, he didn't flash a badge. He just opened the back door and waved to her. Emily looked both ways, stood slowly, walked to the van. No struggle. But she hesitated at the door, then turned back and dropped something on the sidewalk. The man reached out, not gently, and pushed her inside. He looked around, and just before stepping into the van, he kicked whatever she dropped into the gutter. The van drove off. Jamal's heart was pounding. "She dropped something," he whispered. That night, flashlight in hand, Jamal returned to the scene. He searched the gutter, trash, cigarette butts, leaves, then he saw it. A small object lodged under the grate. He reached down, stretched his fingers. Got it! It was a locket. Silver. Dirty, but intact. He wiped it with his sleeve. Inside was a tiny photo. 2 people, a woman and a man, holding a baby, Emily. But neither of the adults looked anything like the man who took her, and in faded writing, barely visible, was a name scratched in pencil. Amelia Grace Winters. Not Emily. Amelia. Jamal brought the locket home. Showed his mom. Called Miss Kennedy. She was stunned. "This changes everything," she said. "We'll run the name and photo through missing persons. Thank you, Jamal. This could save her life." That night, Jamal stared at the locket on his desk. Not Emily, Amelia. And someone dangerous, had gone to great lengths to make sure nobody ever found her again, but she left him a clue because she trusted him. And he wasn't about to let her down. They buried her story years ago. The phone rang again just after sunrise. Jamal was already up. He'd barely slept. The locket sat on his nightstand, glinting faintly in the early morning light. Leanne picked up, then passed the phone to Jamal without saying a word. He pressed it to his ear. "Jamal, it's Miss Kennedy again." He sat up straighter. "We ran the name and photo from the locket through the missing persons database, and we found something." Jamal's heart pounded. "She's not just missing," Miss Kennedy said quietly. "She was presumed dead." "Dead? What?" Jamal whispered. "Amelia Grace Winters, reported missing at age 4 nearly 6 years ago, vanished with her mother from a rest stop in Michigan. Her mother's body was later found in the woods nearby, but the girl, she was never seen again." Jamal couldn't speak. The case went cold. Eventually, it was closed. Authorities believed she was taken by a stranger and likely didn't survive. They held a memorial 2 years ago. Jamal stared at the photo in the locket. "No," he said firmly. "She's alive. She was just in my house. That's her. That's Amelia. We believe you. But here's where it gets complicated," Ms. Kennedy said slowly. "After we flagged the case, someone accessed her file from a restricted system, less than 20 minutes later." "What does that mean?" Jamal asked. "It means someone is watching, and someone doesn't want this." Case reopened. Later that day, detectives visited the house. A woman named Detective Avery asked to speak to Jamal alone. She had tired eyes and a notepad worn from use. "You're the boy who found the locket?" she asked. Jamal nodded. "Do you understand what you've done?" she asked gently. "I just wanted to help her," he said. Detective Avery smiled, but it was brief. "You may have just reopened a case people in power wanted buried." Jamal tilted his head. "Why would they bury a case about a missing kid?" She looked at the photo. "Because this wasn't just any child. Her father was a man named Simon Winters." The name meant nothing to Jamal. "He owns a private security firm. Used to work in intelligence. Very rich. Very connected. After Amelia vanished, he made a big show of cooperating. But off the record, he refused interviews, shut down leads, even sued a few journalists." "So, he didn't want her found?" Avery nodded slowly. "Some people think he did more than just stop the search." That night, Jamal researched Simon Winters. The man was everywhere, in photos with politicians, speaking on national security panels, even smiling in glossy magazines next to celebrities. But there were no photos of Amelia. Not one. Not even in old news clips. It was like she'd been erased. Jamal couldn't breathe. What kind of father lets the world forget his child? Unless he wanted her forgotten. The next morning, as Jamal walked to school, a black car crept behind him. He noticed it first by the hum of the engine. Too slow, too steady. He turned. It stopped. His chest tightened. He started walking faster. Then, running, the car didn't follow. But that night, He saw it parked across the street from his house. No license plate, tinted windows. Watching, Jamal told Detective Avery. She filed a report. Don't go anywhere alone, she warned. This is getting deeper than we thought. What if they come for me next? Jamal asked. Avery looked him straight in the eye. Then we'll protect you. You're brave. Don't forget that. But Jamal couldn't sleep. He kept replaying. Emilia's last words. They're not the real ones. That's not what they called me. It wasn't just about being kidnapped. It was about identity, about control. Whoever took her had been calling her a different name, maybe for years. Making her forget who she really was. Why? What were they trying to hide? Then something strange happened. An envelope arrived in their mailbox. No return address. Jamal's mom opened it. Inside was a flash drive. She hesitated, then handed it to Jamal. Be careful, she whispered. He plugged it into her laptop. One file, a short video. He clicked play. The screen flickered, then showed a little girl in a dim room. Pale, quiet, sitting on the floor. A red hoodie draped over her small frame. It was her, Emilia. The timestamp showed it was from 2 years ago. A voice behind the camera, male, cold, spoke. Say your name. Silence. Say it. Emily, the girl whispered. The voice repeated. Emily who? She hesitated. Emily Crowder. The voice spoke again. And who do you belong to? The girl blinked. You! The screen went black. Jamal's hands trembled. His mum was crying softly. He called Miss Kennedy immediately. She was silent for a long time after watching the clip. This confirms it, she finally said. She was being held under a fake identity. That's why she was never found, Jamal asked. Do you know who that voice belongs to? There was a pause. We're working on it. But Jamal heard something else in her tone, something like fear. The next day, a letter arrived taped to their front door. Typed, cold, no name. Stop digging. This doesn't concern you. You did your part. Let it end here, or you'll wish you had. Jamal showed it to Detective Avery. She was furious. She handed it to forensics. Then she said something that made his blood go cold. This is government-grade paper. The same type used in federal offices. You think someone in the system is helping? Cover this up? Jamal asked. Avery didn't answer, but she didn't deny it either. That night, while sitting in his room, Jamal made a decision. He took out Emilia's locket, opened it, and stared at the photo. Then he grabbed his notebook. I'm not going to. Stop, he wrote. If the system won't protect her, I will. The next morning, an email popped up in his inbox. Subject, you're not alone from. Hidden sender message. I know where she is. But if you want to help her, come alone. 9 p.m. Meet behind St. Francis Chapel. Don't bring cops. Don't bring your phone, or she disappears forever. Behind the chapel, the truth waited. The wind was sharp that night, scraping against. The bare trees like bones rubbing together. Jamal stood at his bedroom window, heart racing. PM. The words from the email repeated in his mind like a drumbeat. Meet behind St. Francis Chapel. Come alone, or she disappears forever. He hadn't told Detective Avery or Leanne, not even his mom. Every instinct screamed, don't go. But a louder voice inside whispered back, she's just a girl, like your sister. What if no one else helps her? So he went. Jamal dressed in dark clothes and slipped out the back door. The locket hung around his neck. The cold bit through his hoodie, but he didn't stop walking. His feet carried him through the quiet streets. Past shuttered stores and dark windows, St. Francis Chapel stood on the edge of town, old, stone, forgotten. No lights, no sound. Jamal approached slowly, his breath fogging in front of him. The chapel loomed ahead, its cross cracked at the top, ivy strangling its sides. He turned the corner to the back. No one. Hello, he called softly. Silence. Then, a flicker. A shadow shifted behind the chapel's rusted gate. Jamal. a voice whispered. He spun. A figure stepped out from behind the bushes. It was a woman, maybe early 30s, wearing a coat 2 sizes too big and a knitted red beanie pulled low. Her eyes darted left and right. "You came alone?" she asked. Jamal nodded. "Who are you?" She looked at him for a long moment, then, "My name is Rachel. I used to work for Simon Winters, Emilia's father." Jamal felt like the ground tilted beneath him. She held up her hands. "I was her nanny, until I found out what he was doing." Jamal swallowed. What was he doing? Rachel looked down. Not just lying, erasing her. They sat behind the chapel wall, hidden, in the shadows. Rachel spoke fast, like someone afraid they'd be stopped at any moment. She wasn't kidnapped the way people think. He staged it. Jamal blinked. He faked the kidnapping? Rachel nodded. He and Emilia's mother, Alice, were in a brutal custody battle. He had the money, the lawyers, but she had something stronger. Emilia's love. Rachel paused. He couldn't stand that. Jamal whispered, "So he killed her." Rachel looked away. "I can't prove that, but Alice was scared the week before. Said she felt watched, then she vanished. Emilia with her. Days later, they found Alice's body. Emilia was declared missing. Case closed. Simon made sure of it." "And where was Emilia?" Rachel looked back. "Hidden. On his estate. Under another name. Emily Crowder." He told the staff she was a niece. He homeschooled her with tutors who never asked questions, made her call him uncle, changed her clothes, her hair, everything. Jamal's chest tightened. Why? Control, revenge. And because she was a symbol of the only woman who ever defied him. Rachel leaned closer, but Emilia remembered. She used to whisper to me when he wasn't around. She called herself Emmy. She had nightmares. Drew pictures of a woman in red, her mother. I started keeping a journal. She pulled out a small leather notebook and handed it to Jamal. Inside, drawings, notes, Emilia's words, written by Rachel. "I miss the beach with Mama. He says my name is Emily, but I don't think so. I hear her singing when I sleep." Jamal's hands trembled. "You were the only one she ever spoke to out there, weren't you?" he asked. Rachel nodded, tears welling up. "When I tried to leave, he fired me, had me followed, warned me never to speak." Jamal whispered, "Why now? Why contact me?" Rachel looked him in the eye. "Because she escaped. She ran during a storm 2 nights ago. She's somewhere out there. And you already found her once." Suddenly, headlights. A black SUV turned down the road toward the chapel. Rachel gasped. "Go! But go!" She shoved the notebook into Jamal's chest and ran into the trees. Jamal ducked behind a stone monument. The SUV stopped. The engine idled. Then, from the passenger seat, a man stepped out. Tall, sharp suit, grey beard. Jamal recognized him from the magazines, Simon Winters. He looked around the chapel slowly, then spoke to someone inside the car. "Search." She was here. Jamal didn't breathe. After what felt like forever, Simon climbed back into the SUV. It reversed down the road and vanished into the night. Jamal ran all the way home. Once inside, he locked every door and window, heart slamming in his chest. He sat on the floor with the notebook, flipping through every page. He saw drawings Emilia had made. A dog with one ear, a swing set under a weeping tree, a woman with long dark hair, and a birthmark under her eye. Jamal froze. He'd seen that before. He dug through his backpack and pulled out a flyer from Ms. Kennedy, one of the early missing persons bulletins they'd dismissed. In the corner, a woman named Alice Winters, Emilia's mom. In the photo, she was smiling, and on her cheek a small, heart-shaped birthmark. The drawings were memories, not just dreams. Emilia remembered her mother. The next morning, Jamal handed everything to Detective Avery. The notebook, the flash drive, the flyer. She read it all, then looked up at him. "You need to know something," she said. "What?" "We searched the systems again after you showed us the video. Emilia's name was erased, not just closed, deleted." "Deleted how?" "Like someone with high-level access scrubbed the whole case. Only a few files survived, locked in paper form in off-site archives. It's like they wanted her entire existence undone." Jamal whispered. "Like she was never born." Avery nodded slowly. "But this," she held up the notebook, "this proves she was." Later that day, Miss Kennedy came to visit the house again. She had tears in her eyes. "I've worked missing persons for 22 years, she said, "but I've never seen something like this. You're doing something no adult dared." Jamal sat quietly. She added, "We've called in someone from out of state, a federal contact. He wants to meet you. He thinks Emilia may be part of a larger case, one involving trafficking through wealthy private channels. You may have uncovered more than just one child's story." Jamal felt the weight of it. Too big, too real, but he nodded. "I just want to find her," he said. Kennedy touched his shoulder. "You will." That night, Jamal stood outside with Leanne. They hadn't spoken much about any of it, but tonight she reached into her pocket and handed him something, a small red ribbon. "I found it behind the swing set," she said. "In the park, the one with the crooked slide." Jamal blinked. "What does it mean?" "She was there," Leanne said. "Recently. That's where she went after your house, before she disappeared again." Jamal looked at the ribbon, then at the sky. "Okay," he said. "We find the park, we search the area, and we bring her home." But before dawn, the house phone rang. Jamal's mom answered. Then her hand went to her mouth. She dropped the phone. Jamal picked it up. A male voice spoke. "You should have stopped. Now she's gone for good. And next time, we won't. Be so nice." Then the line went dead, the message in the sand. The next morning, the sun rose through grey clouds, casting a heavy, pale light over the neighborhood. Everything felt quieter than usual, like the air was waiting. Jamal hadn't slept. He kept hearing the man's voice from the phone call over and over in his head. "Now she's gone for good. Next time, we won't be so nice." His mother had begged him to stop helping, but Jamal knew something deeper now. This wasn't just about a lost girl. It was about a cover-up, about a child stolen, hidden and erased, and Emilia had trusted him. He couldn't walk away now, not after everything. By 7 a.m., Jamal and Leanne were already at the park, the one with the crooked slide and the old metal swing set that creaked, even when no one was on it. The red ribbon was still tied to one of the swing chains. They started their search from there. Leanne checked under the bushes. Jamal looked near the bench, the sandbox, even the trash bins. For a long time, nothing, just wind, leaves, silence. Then Leanne froze. "Jamal," she said quietly. He hurried over. She was standing beside the sandbox, in the middle of the sand. Words had been carved with a stick, but rough and hurried like someone afraid of being seen. 3 words, "He is here." Jamal's stomach dropped. Leanne looked at him. She was here. She left this. Jamal scanned the area. "Where is she now?" He looked back down. Something else caught his eye. At the edge of the sandbox, half buried, a small silver charm, shaped like a crescent moon. He picked it up. "Her bracelet," he whispered. "It broke when we ran that night. She wore it every day, so Emilia had been here, and someone had been watching." They took the charm and the sand photo to Detective Avery, who looked pale as she examined the picture. "You need to stay close to home now," she said. "Things are escalating. We think the people involved have been watching you." "Watching us?" Leanne asked. Avery nodded. "There's more." She opened a manila folder and pulled out a series of surveillance stills, taken by hidden traffic cameras, the night Emilia ran from Jamal's house. One photo showed Emilia running through a side alley. The next, a man stepping from a black van, chasing after her. But the third image made Jamal sit up straight. It was Rachel, the nanny. She was standing just beyond the alley, watching it all unfold. She said she was hiding, Jamal muttered. She said she was afraid. Avery's expression hardened, but she wasn't running that night. She was waiting. Jamal's thoughts spun wildly. Had Rachel lied? Was she helping Amelia escape, or helping take her back? Leanne whispered, "We trusted her." Avery handed Jamal a photo taken the day. After Amelia disappeared, it showed Rachel entering a building, Simon Winter's corporate office. "I think she's playing both sides," Avery said, "or she was forced to." "But then why meet me? Why give me the notebook?" Avery said, "Sometimes guilt doesn't make people honest. It just makes them messy. Maybe she wanted to feel clean again." Jamal's hands curled into fists. "Then we need to find her. Now." They tracked Rachel to a motel just outside town. Dusty, faded pink walls, the kind of place no one looked at twice. Jamal waited in the car with Leanne as Avery and two officers knocked on the door. No answer. Then, crash! The sound of a window breaking from inside. Officers burst through. Moments later, one emerged, holding Rachel by the arm. Her face was streaked with tears. Her eyes were wild. "She's gone," she cried. "You don't understand. I tried to protect her." "Where is she?" Avery demanded. Rachel's voice broke. "They took her back. They said if I told anyone, they'd make her disappear forever. I thought if I helped you, they might let her go." Jamal stepped closer. "Where is Simon keeping her?" Rachel trembled. "The house, his private estate outside the city. But the back wing, no one goes there. That's where she's locked up." Avery grabbed her radio. "We're going in." Simon Winter's estate was a fortress. Tall gates, stone walls, guards with earpieces. Legally, it was just a private home, but rumors surrounded it. Avery arrived with backup. Federal agents joined in, citing emergency child endangerment evidence. Jamal wasn't allowed inside. He waited in the car with Leanne, gripping the crescent moon charm in his fist. 30 minutes passed. Then a voice on Avery's radio crackled. "We found something. A room, hidden behind the study." Another voice. "She's here, it's the girl." Jamal jumped from the car just as Avery returned. She nodded once. "We found her. She's alive." Tears flooded Jamal's eyes, but Avery wasn't smiling. "She's not talking," she said. "Not yet." Inside the hidden room, Amelia sat curled on a mattress, her arms wrapped tightly around her knees. She didn't respond to anyone. Not even the doctor. Her eyes were distant. Her body didn't flinch when people spoke. Jamal stepped to the doorway. "Amelia?" he said gently. Her eyes blinked slowly. He held out the moon charm. "I kept it safe for you." She stared at it. Then her lips moved. "Barely. I wrote your name," she whispered. "In the sand." "I saw," Jamal said, kneeling. "We found it. We found you." Then her body shook, and she burst into tears, and for the first time since she was taken, Amelia reached out. Back at the station, the investigation deepened. Simon Winters was arrested that night. Documents were found in his office, falsified. Records, bribes to local officers, threats to judges. He'd paid to erase Amelia. He'd controlled everyone who could speak out. And Rachel, though still guilty, confessed fully and handed over more proof. She'd been threatened too, but her silence had helped cover the crime. Leanne watched as agents hauled out boxes of files. "This wasn't just about a lost girl," she said. Jamal nodded. "It was a stolen life." That evening, Jamal visited Amelia at the Children's Hospital, where she was under protection and observation. She was drawing again, simple lines, small pictures. He sat next to her and placed the red ribbon beside her paper. She looked at it, smiled faintly, and picked up a red crayon. Then slowly she drew 3 stick figures, a girl, a boy, and a dog with one ear. Then she turned to Jamal. "Can I go home now?" she asked softly. He blinked. We'll find where home is, together. She nodded, and for the first time she smiled, but across town, a man sat in a black car, watching the hospital entrance. He wore a long coat and held a file labeled Project Silhouette, Phase 2, Containment Breach. Inside were pictures. One was of Jamal, another, Emilia, asleep in her hospital bed. He tapped the folder once, then made a call. "There's been a leak," he said coldly. "We'll need to clean it up. Start with the boy." Then he hung up and drove into the night. The final whisper. It started with a shadow on Jamal's bedroom wall, then the faint sound of gravel crunching outside his window. By the time he reached for his phone, the power had gone out, pitch black, silent. He stood still, heart racing. Then his mother's scream pierced the darkness. "Jamal, stay down!" A loud crash came from the living room, glass breaking. He ducked under his bed, whispering, "Mom, Mom, please be okay." Then, bang! The door burst open. Boots, two of them, moving fast. Jamal held his breath. A hand reached under the bed, grabbed his arm. "Quiet," said a voice. Familiar. He turned to see Leanne, her eyes wide, her body trembling. "They're not here for her anymore," she whispered. "They want you." By the time Detective Avery arrived, the house was trashed, lamps broken, drawers overturned, back door kicked off its hinges. But Jamal and his mother were safe, thanks to Leanne dragging him out through the bathroom window. I think someone inside the department tipped them off," Avery muttered. "They knew where you were, and they weren't just trying to scare you. They were trying to erase you." "Why?" Jamal asked. "I'm just a kid." Avery looked sick. "You're the witness who didn't break, the only one Emilia trusted. That makes you dangerous to someone with a lot to lose." Jamal's voice was steady. "I'm not backing down." At the hospital, Emilia had stopped talking again. She sat in her room, holding the moon charm, staring at the TV even though it was off. Jamal entered gently. "Hey," he said. She turned to look at him. "I saw him," she whispered. Jamal froze. "Who?" Emilia stared at the wall. "The man from before, the one who wears gloves. He was outside the window last night." Jamal's blood ran cold. "Did you tell anyone?" She shook her head. "They'll say I imagined it." She pulled something from under her pillow. A torn envelope. Inside was a photo. Jamal stared at it. It was his face, taken from outside his house. Below it, a note, "Silence isn't safe anymore." Avery brought Jamal and his mom to a federal safe house in the countryside. It had guards, steel doors, cameras, everything, but even surrounded by protection, Jamal didn't feel safe, especially when he noticed the photo Emilia gave him was gone from his bag. Someone had taken it, even inside the safe house. Someone was watching. Leanne arrived at the safe house 2 days later. She had been digging online, through old government files, private message boards, even secret court records. "I found something," she said, breathless. "About Simon Winters." She held up a printed document. Jamal read the title aloud. "Project Silhouette, Experimental Child Conditioning Program." "What is this?" he asked slowly. Leanne flipped through the pages. Simon wasn't just rich. He funded an illegal, psychological program, reprogramming children from abusive homes, raising them in isolated environments to test if pain could be erased. She paused. Emilia wasn't just a lost girl. She was part of this. Jamal's mind spun. They kidnapped her to experiment on her. Leanne nodded. The program was shut down years ago, or so they claimed. But there were missing files, children who were never found. Jamal whispered, "She was one of them." "Not just her," Leanne said. There were 12. She handed him another file. Jamal's heart stopped. On the second page, his name, Jamal Brooks. Case Nucker 11. "No," he said, backing away. "That can't be right. I grew up with my mum. I had birthdays. I went to school." Leanne looked at him, her eyes soft. They planted those memories, Jamal. Everything. Even your school files were created 5 years ago. No, no, my life is real! He ran from the room, but deep down, he already knew. Later that night, Jamal sat alone outside the safe house, staring up at the stars. Nothing felt real anymore. Not his memories, not his home, not even his own identity. Then he heard soft footsteps. Amelia. She sat beside him. She didn't speak for a while. Then she whispered, "I used to have dreams. Of a house with yellow curtains. A woman humming in the kitchen. I thought it was fake. They told me it was a test." Jamal swallowed hard. "They told me I was born in the system," he said. "A number, a file, but maybe that wasn't the beginning." Amelia looked at him. "You helped me, even when you didn't know who you were." He looked into her eyes. "I'm still me," he said, "and I'll protect you, no matter what." The next day, the news broke. A major investigative report aired live, exposing Project Silhouette, naming Simon Winters and 2 other corporate figures tied to child experimentation, illegal surveillance, and erasing identities. Jamal's photo was blurred. So was Amelia's, but the story caught fire. Protests began, investigations reopened, and best of all, a judge ordered that all children involved in the project must be identified and released into protected custody with proper therapy, name, restoration, and family tracing. 2 weeks later, Jamal and his mother sat across from a social worker at the city office. She held a sealed folder. "Are you ready?" she asked gently. Jamal nodded. She opened it. Inside, his real birth certificate. Name, Elijah Noel Carson. Date of birth, April 2nd, 2010. Mother, Melissa Carson. "Your birth mother," the woman said, "has been searching for you since you disappeared 15 years ago." Elijah, froze. Then tears filled his eyes. "She never stopped," he whispered. The social worker smiled. "She never gave up." That night, at the safe house, Amelia had a visitor. A woman with long hair, soft eyes, and a worn photo. In her hand, it was Amelia, age 3, in her arms. Amelia stared at the photo for a long time, then slowly walked toward the woman. "Mom," she whispered. The woman burst into tears, and Amelia finally fell into her arms. 1 month later, Jamal stood on the beach, the same one Amelia had drawn in her notebook. The sky was orange, waves gentle, and beside him stood his birth mom, Melissa, and his forever mom, the woman who raised him, held him, loved him even before knowing the truth. "You're both my mothers," Jamal said quietly, and they each took his hand. As the sun dipped behind the waves, Amelia ran toward him. She stopped, laughing, out of breath. Then she handed him something, a shell, painted red. "Remember?" she smiled. "Red ribbon." "Sand, you found me." He looked at the shell, then at her. "I didn't just find you," he said. "We found ourselves." Epilogue years later, a best-selling memoir sat on bookstore shelves around the world, The Boy Who Wouldn't Forget, by Elijah Noel Carson, formerly Jamal Brooks. Inside its pages was the whole story. Not just about Amelia, but about memory, truth, and choosing to fight for what's right. It became a symbol for survivors, for lost children, for found voices, and in the final chapter Elijah wrote, "Sometimes the truth doesn't set you free right away. Sometimes it breaks you first. But if you keep walking through the pain, you'll find the part of yourself they couldn't erase." The end.